Welcome to AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. Educate. Celebrate. Connect. Arizona Hispanic Connection.
Hello, everybody. My name is Maria Jesus Cervantes. I am the Director of Public Affairs and International Relations for Chicanos por la Causa, and I will be your MC today. Muy buenos días y gracias por venir. Thank you so much for coming to this special event. This is AARP's Lunch and Learn talk on relevant Hispanic Latino issues. This is part of AARP Arizona Hispanic Connection, a radio and social media platform, which was launched about 2 years ago. Before we continue with the program, I would like to ask Ralph Romero to come to the podium and lead us with the Pledge of Allegiance.
All right, at this time, I would like everybody to stand up, please, and remove your hats. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please help me welcome Monsignor Tom Heaver. He will be giving blessings for this delicious meal.
Heavenly Father, as we gather today, we ask your blessings upon all who are gathered here, particularly for the members of Chicanos por la Causa who have sponsored this event, for those who prepare the food, and particularly for the families who make up the history of Our Lady Perpetual Help Old Adobe Mission, who are the founding members of Scottsdale and of Our Lady Perpetual Help Parish here. Bless all of us as we gather here, continue to watch over and bless the project, and bless all of our work this day. We pray through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Can we also please give a hand to the cooks and servers who provided the meal, delicious meal here at Los Olivos Mexican food. Thank you. Please take a seat and continue to enjoy the meal as we continue with this program. Lunch and Learn has had the guest speakers, such as in the past, such as late Congressman Ed Pastor, who delivered an excellent message on the history of Latino advocacy in Arizona, as well as Adrian Fontes, a Maricopa County recorder, who spoke in the past on the U.S. Constitution. Today, we have a very special program. We are celebrating the heritage, history, and contributions of many families. The topic is the SCOTTSDALE Old Adobe Mission, with a special emphasis on several Mexican pioneer families. Chicanos por la Causa is celebrating 50 years of empowering communities, so it's very fitting for us to participate and help recognize the founding pioneer families here in Scottsdale. But now I would like to call to the podium Dan Martinez, AARP Arizona State President, and David Parra, Associate State Director for Multicultural Outreach. Please help me welcome both of them.
Muy buenos días, buenas tardes. Welcome everybody, bienvenidos. This is a great turnout, isn't it? Wow, it's amazing. Woo! As mentioned, I'm the Arizona State President. It's a volunteer position, but I enjoy speaking to groups like this. Isn't this weather great? Don't you think this is fantastic? Let me tell you about my perspective, though. I grew up in the self-proclaimed Chile capital of the world, Hatch, New Mexico, a farming community, right? And we've not been able to plant any crops on our farm for the last 2 years because of the extended drought that we've had. So I welcome all of this moisture. Absolutely. Yes. What does a state AARP president do? Well, I talk to groups like you. In the last week, I've spoken to 150 people that were learning how to use their iPads and tablets, and they were learning how to do job searches in the digital age. We've got to take advantage of all the technology that's out there, right? We do. What I want to mention, thank you for taking the time to come here, especially in these conditions. I'd like to recognize the state director of AARP, Dana Kennedy. She's hiding over here and she's got some food in her mouth, but she is starting her 5th year as director, and believe me, she is a fierce advocate for people that are 50 plus years of age. So let's give her a hand. We also have today with us Alex Juarez, who is doing some of the technical work, hiding behind that pillar over there. He's our guy in charge of communications. There are several volunteers for AARP. We have hundreds of volunteers, and I try to be the ambassador for them, the brand of AARP. And I see Saul and Lupe Solis seated over here. Leti Parra, who happens to be with this man here. And my wife, Lilian Martinez, helping with registration. Alex's in-laws are here, seated at this table. Welcome.
Also volunteers.
We can use a few more Hispanic volunteers. Believe me, we've got a lot of work to do in the community. Okay, very quickly now. You've been told what this program is about, and David will have more information about that. I do want to say, however, that David is our go-to guy when it comes to Hispanic outreach. He's doing a tremendous job, so let's give him a great round of applause. David?
Thank you. It is amazing to have a gentleman such as Dan Martinez as a volunteer for AARP. Can you imagine? We have several volunteers that they do so much that they look more like staff. I mean, I am not kidding you. We could not do what we do without our volunteers. This event is very, very special for me. Very, very special. I'm going to be very brief. What's the code, Alex? The 3 B's of public speaking: be smart, be brief, be gone. Before I go on, the next event, such as this one, we call them Lunch and Learns, is going to be either in Tolleson or the surrounding area. I spoke with Mayor Ana Tobar, who happens to be, I believe, in Mexico City, but she sent 2 representatives because they wanted to learn how the event would go to kind of replicate it on their end, right? So I want to recognize the mayor's staff, Mario and Pilar. Thank you so much for coming. Coming from Tolleson is quite a distance, right? Okay, I don't believe I need to work too hard to convey what we are doing here today. I host a radio show on Tuesdays in Spanish and Thursdays in English. I invited Chicanos por la Causa representatives to speak about Chicanos por la Causa CPLC, and this gentleman, Juan Alvarez, who happens to be the first CEO of Chicanos por la Causa, showed up. There he is. I met him for the first time And before you knew it, he spoke to me about a writing committee, a book writing committee. That I said, wow, I've been doing shows on the history of Phoenix by radio. You mean to tell me that Mexicans were also pioneering in how do you call them? Escatel? She says, of course. So I said, I got to go to that meeting. So he brought me to the book writing committee. They have pan mexicano or pan dulce. I actually was surprised. They eat a lot of bread. So I learned about this book being written. So he says, how about we do a radio show on the very subject, right? And we had Robert Leiva, Raquel Leiva, Juan, help me, Juan, who else was there? Nelly, and then Ruben. Who else? And of course, Sally Thompson. She is the writer of the book. So anyway, I feel so passionate about, Oh, and the whole gang, right? So anyway, very, very meaningful to me for my work for AARP, because this platform that AARP Arizona launched to serve Hispanic Americans, it's AARP Arizona Hispanic Connection. And we have a Facebook page. I'm going to ask every one of you who are here who do Facebook to look for AARP Arizona Hispanic Connection and like the page. Or follow us, because we're going to do, this is going to become a video. We're videotaping it, we're capturing the audio, and we're going to post it on Facebook, right? And then we're going to play a video for you later on. It's going to be on Facebook so that everybody can watch it. So anyhow, so then once I knew about this committee and I learned about the passion and the fact that the Mexican Americans have been in Scottsdale forever, from the very beginning. I said, really? I had just done a show on Los Campos de Tolezon. Sorry, Los Campos de Litchfield Park, because the Mexicans were there. And the Mexicans were in Phoenix. And now in Escatel, I was so excited. I said, we got to bring the Lunch and Learn to Scottsdale. And now I was chatting with a couple of the friends here. He says, maybe we need to do this at least once a year, maybe twice a year. Let's chat about it. So I really hope you enjoy the program. This is what it's all about. We're celebrating the SCOTTSDALE Old Adobe Mission with emphasis on several Mexican pioneering families. Enjoy.
That was great. I would learn that we have a very special guest today, and he is celebrating a birthday today. Can we all sing Las Mañanitas this morning? What do you think? Mayor Lane, can you please come on stage? Ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mayor. Happy birthday to you. Can you please say a few words?
Thank you so very much. That was a very nice tribute. Probably not even really deserved. But since I don't know exactly what the interpretation of the first two songs were, I was going to seek from Maria maybe exactly what you were saying. But it didn't even go to the tune that I'm familiar with. But in any case, it really is a pleasure to be here with you all. And it's been something of really, as we talk about having a luncheon to learn and to discover, really, for some of us, certainly, of what the roots are in Scottsdale, what the added roots are in Scottsdale, a significant component, so many years ago. It really is an add to our entire community. was just talking to Tony a little while ago about the parada and, the beginnings of the parada and, frankly, how it's evolved. And there was a point in time where we almost lost the parada. Those of you who are, incidentally, David, Scottsdalians, but that has struggled through some changes and some really positive ones of late. And if you haven't been to the parada lately, you need to join us. Obviously, it was earlier this month when the Hash Knife Riders came down from Holbrook. And if you know that history, it sort of launches the whole thing. And it's just been a great, great historical treasure for us. But when Sally Thompson and Juan came to my office, this goes back quite a ways, and somewhat closer to the origins of writing the book. And we had several conversations just about all that was being compiled and researched from the original families that had moved into Scottsdale back in the 1910 to 1919 period of time, and that so many of them were here. Their successive generations are here, and they started to connect the dots, not only for the community, but between those folks. And it was each conversation, and Juan, correct me if I'm wrong, we had 3 or 4 of them maybe, but nevertheless, just sitting around a conference room table at City Hall, talking about how this all interrelates. You may have heard the expression that there's only 6 degrees of separation between all of us. And really, it's amazing that with maybe even closer ties and more immediate ties, how folks had sort of lost touch with one another. I mean, it's a natural component. It's what happens. But it was just really, I felt privileged and honored to be able to be included in that conversation. And things cropped up for me as well. Now, I've been living here in Scottsdale for 46 years. And if you think I'm only 46 years old, then it's been all my life. But in any case, it really has been an honor. And it's great to see this crowd together and moving forward in a positive way. And if you don't know my history and my background, of course, I've been the mayor here for 10 years, and I was 4 years on the council before that. But I've been in business here in Scottsdale all my life, all my adult life. And I'm just proud of some of the efforts that are made, not only in reconnecting, but in helping each other and being involved in a great system, a great economic system here in the United States that provides a lot of opportunity, independent of anything else, for everybody. And I think that's a great goal and a great effort by Chicanos por la Causa. And all those connections, as long as we're all interrelating and we're all working together for a great country, it's really a positive impact for all of us. So I just want to give accolades to those who have put together some of the history and inform me. And every chance I get I inform others. And that all goes to the point of adding respect for one another. And then when we respect one another, we become friends. And when I was growing up as a good Catholic boy, I was told to love your neighbor as yourself. I've come to think about it, and I probably have mentioned this to the group, that I always thought that was a little bit of a high bar. I mean, I can like and respect a lot of people, and I will, but I'm not sure I'm going to jump into that one until I get past the others. But in any case, it's always a point. You may know, too, that 3 years ago, I proclaimed the city of Scottsdale a city of the Golden Rule City. And of course, I'm sure everyone in the room knows what that actually means, and that is just simply, in essence, it could be love your neighbor as yourself, it could be treat others as you would treat yourself, or just simply to respect each other. And that has been my guiding rule through, certainly prior to the last 3 years, but nevertheless, I'm moving forward and profess it often. But it's just great to see extended family here together, combined with other friends, and bringing this all together. And certainly, congratulations to those who have sponsored it as well, and it's nice to be able to be here with you, and I am honored to be included. So thank you very, very much. And thank you for the song.
So when our president, current president David Adame, took office a few years ago, he made sure that we recognize our past presidents and our founders in every opportunity we had. And so Juan Alvarez, who was always participating in several of our activities and events. And through those interactions, I had the opportunity to talk and hear the story about the SCOTTSDALE Old ADOBE Mission and the passion that has been put behind it. Now that Chicanos por la Causa celebrates 50 years of empowering communities, now in 3 states, Arizona, Nevada, and New Mexico, it was very fitting for us to participate and support and recognize your families, our community, and the heritage and the role that you have played in the foundation of this great city. Recently, I had the opportunity to meet one of the ladies that had been at the forefront of this very important documentation of history and recognizing the spirit of the founding members, the founding 34 families of this, of SCOTTSDALE. Did I get it right? SCOTTSDALE. SCOTTSDALE. So please, I would like to introduce to you now a dedicated librarian turned historian, an advocate for rescuing and honoring our history, the tenacious writer of the book, SCOTTSDALE Old ADOBE Mission, 3 Cultures, 3 Communities, 1 Family. Please help me welcome the one and only Sally Thompson.
Thank you. Thank you very much for those kind words. And Marilyn, have a great birthday today. Thank you so much for coming. I have to just say, when I called Mayor's office, the last time I called in November and said, I'd like to bring a few people in, I figured I better tell them how many. I said, there's going to be 8 Mexicans and the token white. And we spent 2 hours of his day he spent with us, listening to the stories. And there is nothing that warms my heart more than seeing people be together and being happy and something to look forward to. But you make our day all the time. And I thank you for that. Now, before I begin, I would ask if Sylvia Morales would come up. Sylvia is one of the first family descendants. There were 13 children in her family. Her father came when he was 2 years old.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to read off some of the family names, and I'd like you to stand up when you pertain to that family. The first one is Aldana, Bracamonte, Cabanillas, Castillo, Corral, Corrales. Now this is pronounced a few different ways, so it all means the same family. Demarbix, Demarbier, Demerbeau, Dominguez, Igurola, Felix, Gardea, Herrera, Jauregui, Leiva, Medina, Mianes, Montenegro, Morales, Munguia, Noriega, Ochoa, Pacheco, Ramirez, Rangel, or Rangel, Valenzuela, Varela, Vargas, and Yutzi. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sylvia. Some of the names where no one is here, some of the last of those families are buried in the cemetery at called Camelback Cemetery over in Paradise Valley. And we happen to be over there. And I would like to ask our police from Paradise Valley, who met us at the cemetery and found out that they're related. Juan pulled out a picture of his wife's family, and Steve looked at it and said, "Oh, that's my Tia." So, my Paradise Valley, please. And John Winterstein is not standing. He's the former chief of police, and he also is, thank you, Chief. He also serves on the history committee in Paradise Valley. And Maureen is here, if you would stand. And Catherine just left with the baby. Oh, there she is. Good. With the baby. And the other two members were unable to come today. But we've been working together with Paradise Valley. That's my hometown. Last fall one day, or about September, I would say, I brought, I talked to Catherine and said, well, I'm bringing some people with me. I was on the agenda for the history committee in Paradise Valley, and she said, oh, okay, how many are you bringing? And I said, well, probably about 8 Mexicans and me. So we had a good time. They hosted us for about an hour and a half and asking all kinds of questions, interested in what we were doing, what they were doing, and the mutual things we have in common. And that's what I think I've found writing this book, is the mutual respect for each other, the caring, the sharing. Everyone wants to work together. But I do have a script. But I want to thank everybody that's here today, all of the people in my life that have special meaning to me that are here, whose names I won't make them get up, but I do appreciate your coming out in this rain. And my good friend Paul Messenger, who has helped me immensely when I bring my book over, and he has read it and said, yeah, you got the history down. And I was talking to Cora that day, and Cora said, Paul, he really takes care of people. And I said, yes, he does. In life and death. I said, Paul buried my mother, he buried my father, and he buried my son. And I couldn't recommend him a better person than Paul. He's one of the caring ones. Anyway, one of the things that I have said during the writing of this book is that, whoa, they say, well, how do you like to write? No, I don't like to write. I'm a librarian, a children's librarian, in fact, but a critic of reading, and I love reading, but I'm not a writer. I'm not an author, and I'm not a historian. So when I write, and they say, how you doing? I said, I give blood every time I write. Well, I found out I must have given a lot of blood in the last 9 years, because last week I spent 5 days in the hospital and had to get a transfusion and 3 iron shots. So now I can read my script. To prepare for Scottsdale in 1900 in your mind's eye, please visualize a blank loom preparing to weave a unique tapestry that grows slowly at first, then is near completion before one can barely bat your eyelashes. It's gone 100 years. Then visualize the barren desert, perhaps a drive to Tucson, where still the miles seem endless, vast desert spaces of just scrub growth. what the area called Scottsdale was in the beginning. Scrub growth, virgin desert. Now visualize the towns and the cities of Prescott, Tempe, Florence, Flagstaff, Tucson, and Phoenix 100 years ago. Have they changed very much since you've lived here? Changed by growth? Or are they comparatively stable from the beginning? These towns and cities were all here and developing when Scottsdale was that virgin desert you just pictured, circa 1880. After honing his skills on the railroad in Flagstaff and Crown King, along came a larger-than-life man. W.J. Murphy moved his family to below Camelback Mountain, and in 1883, with agreement to build a canal from Granite Reef Dam west to New River, running through what would become Scottsdale. And then he found Chaplain Winfield Scott, military chaplain and soldier, wounded in the Civil War, still in the military, who had the same stamina and determination he had. Together they forged a bond, purchasing a section of land. And for those who aren't farm people, that's 640 acres, bounded by Indian School, Scottsdale Road, Chaparral, and Hayden. Scott hired his brother to start building for the future. While George Washington Scott was clearing the land with the assistance of the Pima Nation, Scott, Murphy, and his extended family were becoming landowners and planting citrus in the Arcadia area. All this during the 1890s. How could this be? Awa. Murphy made it possible to irrigate land with his canal, and Scott brought many people as he preached in Baptist churches around the East and Midwest on the rich soil, sufficient water, sunny weather, and healing environment for the ailing. Look back again to the scrub desert already described, where Scott settled. Water was the equalizer. Water could make a village possible. He preached until he was blue in the face about the land and the fact that the people could pitch their tents right on his property until they had some of their own. And so they came. Almost every family that came had someone ailing with asthma, consumption, or another breathing problem. It took some while others recovered. Murphy's relatives purchased land. Albert Utley purchased a section, 640 acres, from his niece and drew a plat of 40 acres that would become Scottsdale. Attached to the directions was a clause that stated, the village will remain dry. No alcohol, no John Barleycorn. By 1970, individuals lived in Scottsdale. They started a school in 1896 with 15 students. The village was a farming community. Farmers like the Haydens, who lost everything in 1891 during the Great Flood in the Salt River. They left Phoenix and purchased half a section near Hayden Road in McDowell. Hayden is named after Wilford Hayden, that farmer, not from Hayden's in Tempe. One crop they grew was apricots, along with their dairy cows. Another family built a home out of the buildings that had floor and tent-type sides to accommodate the sickly patients from the Midwest and East Coast. J.L. Davis and his family built the first store, stayed a while, then moved on to California. Compare this to the first towns and cities I described. The other places were flourishing places. Scottsdale was, well, not too much to see. Would it grow, advance, and become a metropolis envisioned by Murphy and Scott? You bet. When the tapestry loom was wrapped and the warp was woven piece by piece, yes sirree. That's a nice beginning. But we are all here today to celebrate the third culture, You've heard about the Pima Nation. You've heard about the white culture. But the third culture built the original village, the Mexicans. In the beginning, a stunning group of Mexicans, mostly unknown to each other, came upon the land called Scottsdale. They brought with them family, stamina, hope, perseverance, faith, and unbridled spirit. Their community grew and thrived for half a century, 5 decades. They developed the land. They worked at every job possible to create home, the men and the women together. They wanted education for their children and a place of worship. They made friends with all their neighbors, helped them all in times of struggle, laughed, played together, became relatives through marriage and the sacraments. Their grandchildren were all born United States citizens. 5 decades have once again passed. Now, a century later, the descendants have come forth to tell their incredible story. A story that plays a vibrant part in the growth of Scottsdale, as well as a tribute to them, their faith and spirit. In the midst of Old Town Scottsdale stands the iconic legacy that their ancestors left as a beacon of their spirit. A little adobe mission church that just recently received national recognition as a permanent historic building. And I would ask Gloria Argueso to please stand. Come on, Gloria. For the past 20 years, Gloria has worked tirelessly at that little mission church. First, to keep it, and she was on Father Heaver's first committee that worked to save the church. She saved it. Then she wrote all kinds of grants. Then she wrote to try to get it in the national park system in Scottsdale, which she got. And last fall, she finally succeeded in getting historic national recognition for our iconic little adobe mission. That's a heap of work, Gloria, and thank you for keeping it going. And thank Monsignor Heaver also for the foresight to see what the fruits of your labors have been. Thank you both. The Little Adobe Mission is a place where countless visitors continue to visit and perhaps gain a greater insight into a culture other than their own. Thanks to the insight of then Pastor Monsignor Heaver, 6 individual members greeting people at the mission church pooled their efforts to start a book about said church and its people. 4 women and 2 men. Dividing the work, Jim Seward chaired the committee. Dr. Karen Spahn provided the research. Bill Swanson was the legman doing all the odd jobs. Tico Dominguez was the native of Scottsdale and offered her insights. Barbara Hartz kept information on all manner of subjects related to our task, and I volunteered to be the typist. During this 9-year period, 4 have gone to meet their maker and are helping God move the dominoes for a new group, because the last one resides in a retirement home, and I am the lone Lobo, not loco, as Ruben likes to say. When he heard me say that yesterday, he started laughing, and I said, "What's so funny?" He says, "You said you're loco." I said, "No, I didn't. I said I was a Lobo." I said, "Isn't Lobo wolf?" He finally had to admit, yeah, Lobo was wolf. This is how we get work done when we work on Tuesdays. Oh, anyway, I'm the last of the lone Lobo continuing the completion of the work. While driving yesterday from one meeting to another, Juan commented to me, "Sally, you really are enjoying this, aren't you? You get so excited." And I said, "Yes. To me, meeting the individual members of the first families, sharing their stories, and becoming a part of their lives has enriched my life and provided insights and opportunities never thought of. Write again? No way, Jose. This book is a labor of love, endless joy, and challenge to provide the words that represent actual, factual history, yet capturing the faith, hope, abiding love, and spirit of the people who built the village and still think of it as home. Thank you.
Thank you. Please help me give another round of applause to Sally for all her tireless work after all these years and getting all this information captured on a book that is about to come out soon. This beautiful sense of community and the spirit of celebrating the past contributions of many individuals really got to CPLC to invest a little more in trying to capture all these stories and trying to preserve the history and the passion behind putting this book together and the work, recognize the work of all this committee. And so that got our ITVP, Robert Alvarado, to embark on this mission to capture all this on video. I would like to thank Robert and his team, Angel and Eric, for traveling to 11 different sites across the city to capture the different stories and get this on video. And now please let's enjoy this short video from the production of Chicanos por la Causa.
And for the last 9 years, I've been working on a book about the history of Old Scottsdale and the part that the Mexicans took in that history.
Well, my name is Cruz Medina, Jr. My father, Cruz, and my mother, Frances, lived here on East Main Street when I was born. Most of my older brothers and sisters were born at home right here on Main Street. Miracle of the Roses Pageant that was started around 1953 in that area. And it was a dream come true that for Jesus Corral, he came up with that with the help of local artists here, Paul Coase, Patricia Benton.
My name's Abe Arvizu Jr. My grandmother was Dolores Ochoa, and there was a women's Catholic society that was here that helped, actually put it all together. You had to have someone that kept everybody in sync and keep everybody in order, and whether it was getting the people together to meet and to actually do the work, to cooking and refreshments and keeping everybody rotating in and out. I'm sure that the ladies were there.
Hello, my name is Jay Corral. Put the accent in there. I was part of the new generation of the original people, the family that came here, 1919, 1920, right around in there. So my dad, Jesus, helped with the rest of the community put the church together with the collections like like Cruz Medina mentioned, you know, all the festivities going on and the money raising and the passion that was probably laid out in the church. The adobe building that comprises this church, well, you figure out thousands and thousands and thousands of brick, adobe brick, made from the local ground and other sources here in town, put this together. The architecture, an idea expounded on by the architect and whoever to put it together. You know, it's an idea that the people had and the architect went with them.
All right. Hi, I'm Roseanne Song. I'm one of 4 children of the Song family, my dad's family, John Song. My dad is like the number 6 son of J. Chu, my grandfather. My dad, it kind of transformed into Mexican imports in the 60s because a lot of the, he was going back and forth to the fields to deliver groceries on the reservation, and a lot of the workers or the migrant workers were trying to, trade goods for food, and then it kind of just evolved into Mexican imports that you see here today. So yeah, we're going to be celebrating almost 90 years coming up, and right now my sister, my nieces, we all run the store right now.
Hi, my name is Jane Song Jin, and I'm the oldest daughter of John Song, who runs this store and is the owner of Mexican Imports. Here on the corner was my grandfather's grocery store, and this was all dirt road. And where they have the Civic Center, that was all dirt road. And I remember that my grandfather had long telephone poles against the side of the store, and that's where cars and trucks would pull up and park. And then in the grocery store, all I remember is, as children, we would just run around. We would run around all over the store and in front of the store and outside of the store, and we just played. And he spoke Spanish, great Spanish. He speaks Spanish better than he speaks Chinese, for sure. Yeah. And he just started bringing in more and more products from Mexico, and then it became a Mexican import store because they were changing the area here in Scottsdale to like a souvenir tourist area.
My name is Sylvia Morales. My parents were Jose and Angelita Morales. We lived here on First Street, just a block away from Mexican Imports. From what I remember as a child, coming here for groceries, not so much a lot of money, but we did have credit, where John Song gave a lot of us credit, a lot of the families here, since they came. Since I started coming here, we had a lot of fun up and down the streets here in Scottsdale and in this very store. Some memories that I had was he used to keep all his empties and bottles and stuff in the back of the store. We used to go take the pop bottles from him, come around to the front and sell them to him for candy and chips and soda, and then he'd put the bottles back. So we'd go come the next day, take the very same bottles and do the same thing.
I've been here all my life, and I was born right behind this store, and Main Street was the dirt road, and that down there was a dirt road, and the only paved road was right around this corner up to the Baptist church. All this around north of here was all citrus tree. It wasn't no store. The corner was the only thing there was the Baptist church. And then across the street behind that store was another clothing store, and behind it was the ice maker that make ice, and they had the water tower running down. So when we was kids, we used to go and play around that water. And this Scottsdale, Arizona, It was a nice little town, and then after World War II, it got to be famous, and then all the people came to Scottsdale, but I'm happy that I'm still alive and still live in Scottsdale.
Hello, my name is Nellie. I'm from the Valenzuela family. My parents came here in 1922. They met here. They got married here, and they raised 10 children. There was 4 boys and 4 girls, and 2 of them died in the younger years. We started school at this little schoolhouse right here, and the basement was classrooms, the top was classrooms, and across over here there was a big building, white building. They had more classes, and they had a kitchen in the center. But this school there's a lot of history in here. A lot of people from the Yaqui, they used to bus them over here. They used to have that side, and on this side, the classrooms, and on the bottom. And all that came our school.
I'm Jay Corral. This is my cousin Chispa, Maria Elena Corral.
Hello.
And we just want to thank you for giving us this opportunity to talk about the restaurant Los Olivos, which has been in the family for many, many, many years. My dad and my uncles and grandfather were all responsible for getting this place going. And in the olden days, this was all open land, olive trees all around, a farm to the south of us, dairy farm, I believe, and it took off from there. In 1947, it became officially a restaurant, I would think, but I'm sure it operated low-key before then, you know, for everybody that was here.
Well, it was a church, a pool hall.
Church, pool hall. Go ahead.
Trying to think what else. They just would get together, all the vicinity of all the Hispanics that were here, because this was all Mexican barrio. Beautiful homes, all different colors. It was awesome. And it was dirt road. It was a great community.
And the Miracle of the Roses, you know, which originated here with a promise from my dad, Jesus, to his dad, Tomas. Grandfather, on your dying bed, he says, I promise that we will do a dedication to Our Lady of Guadalupe, and which in the early 50s was developed, and with the help of the community was put together, and it carried on for many years. At one time, the Miracle of the Roses had attracted close to 5,000 people to see this annual event. The Blue Room itself was kind of interesting in that you see the plexiglass lights up above you, and there was a certain gentleman who sat there and was watching my dad putting the stuff together and saying, what are you trying to do? He says, well, I'm building this room. It's going to radiate the light inside, so whatever colors I put up here is going to show down. So the gentleman who was watching him says, I'm watching what you're doing, and I don't think it's going to work. In fact, it looks kind of dangerous. I don't know. That gentleman walked out, come back days later. He says, Jesus, you got a good idea here. You got a good building theory on what you're doing here. And he says, I guarantee it's going to be okay. And according to legend, that gentleman was Frank Lloyd Wright.
Well, my mom says that Frank Lloyd Wright used to come up quite a bit, and I guess he had too many margaritas and he put a tortilla on his head and was running around the restaurant with it. That's what I can remember from Frank Lloyd Wright.
But my Uncle Jay and my dad, and then I watch them work all the time, and my Uncle Jay doing the cement work, making the statues.
And the chicken wire, huh? We used to
Chicken
watch them for
metal
hours.
and rebar and bending it and getting a beer can and splitting it open and using it as a trowel. He had all kinds of tricks, you know, that he'd do.
I'm honored to be here representing my family, the Corrales family. My grandfather was Armando Corrales, and my grandmother was Rita Corrales. My grandparents, well, my grandfather moved to Scottsdale in the 1920s, late 1920s. He loved baseball. That was his favorite sport. And my grandfather played on a semi-pro team called the Scottsdale Merchants, and he also played on the Aztecas team. This plaque is a tribute to his work at the city. The stadium is a special place because that's where they all came together. They enjoyed games. Their children participated in playing sports. And he loved to coach baseball.
Cruz's father, Cruz Medina Sr., started the first Mexican ball team in town, and they all played, and his son said that the mining towns of Globe, Miami, Bisbee, all wanted to play ball, but they didn't have enough players, so they would contract with the players up here for $100 a Sunday. They would give them, the team, $100 if they'd go play ball down in Bisbee or somewhere else. And that's what they did. They had a flatbed truck. I think it was the Corrals had the truck, the flatbed. And they drove down to wherever they were going, Ajo or whatever, and played ball down there. Baseball was a big part of the Mexican community.
The olive trees were planted approximately 1895 by Winfield Scott. And the area of the trees is probably about 40 acres. It was from Osborne Street here, the 2nd Street, Drinkwater Drive to Scottsdale Road. And I think that's approximately 40 acres. The whole perimeter was done with the olive trees, and the olive trees were part of a protection for the orange groves and the citrus that are growing in between. They were the windbreak. And during the drought, they did their job pretty good. The olive trees themselves produced the fruit, which was picked by the locals who cured them, used them for whatever. You know, it's something that I myself still do today.
And here we are, we're kind of probably all started back in the early 1900s, because I remember there's a picture of my grandfather up by one of these boulders, and at the base of the boulder it's got 1917 etched into the boulder. So that tells you about how long ago they were here, before the Brown family and everybody else. And so my understanding is they homesteaded and had some property up here, and upwards of about 1,280 acres. So you know, that's the family, you know, from up here. And from here, evidently we moved down to Scottsdale, and that's how Scottsdale, you know, was, you know, one of the original families. Well, you know, as I looked a little more into the history, there was a couple gold mines up here, so now I'm wondering if this is where my grandfather was bringing the gold nuggets from. And, you know, I had heard stories later on, after he passed, as I gotten older, that he was actually up in the Superstition Mountains, you know, looking for gold. But now I'm wondering if it was more here, and he just told people he was in the Superstitions, and it was really over here, because he originally was here, and then, you know, ended up down in Scottsdale. But he would, you know, disappear at times, and they said he'd gone up into the hills. So, you know, you think of the hills. Now we know probably it was these hills, because over there they're mountains, the Superstition Mountains. So I guess that kind of was the throw-off for people not to follow back in those days. And, you know, everybody was looking to follow each other to your different claims. So that's probably where those gold nuggets came from that I saw, that he showed me when I was a very, very young child.
Buenas tardes, amigos, ¿cómo están? Yo soy aquí llegado a esta tierra, me llamo Tony Gardela. Ya no vivo aquí yo, aquí en este lugar. Aquí crecí, aquí casi nací, aquí crecí. Mi padre me hizo un hombrecito, el pobrecito le pasó mala suerte, un borracho lo mató Christmas Eve, 1930 or something like that. Seguramente mi padre fue un hombre muy macizo y bueno con la gente. Y vivimos atrás de esa sierra que no se mira de aquí, pero es un lugar tan bonito. Teníamos una casita, porque mi madre era cocinera durante la corrida de ganado. Eran ella y una indita acá del Silver Project, que ya muy buenos amigos, eran cocineros. Y allá le hacían comida a los cowboys.
And like the olive trees that you visited, This is a special place here. This is called Schrader's Pond. And Schrader finally got a designation from the town to be named that because it was owned by a farmer named Schrader. But before Schrader owned the pond, in the good old days, in the late 1800s, this was the slough that ran through from north all the way south. We interviewed the mayor, Mayor William Schrader, who was, I think, the third mayor in here, and his family had owned this after Mr. Lynn owned it. Lynn came from Norway in 1911, bought the property. Bill Schrader told us that he was a tanner by trade, and he built willow trees all down the side of the slough. Our men at the church were trying to figure out what they were going to do with the big hole behind the church because it was pretty deep and they didn't have enough block. So they made a connection and he said, sure, come on out here, use what you need. Bill Schrader said there used to be one pond here, and by the time they finished with the church, it became two ponds, one deeper, one more shallow. But most of the brick for the church was built right here. And two men, Ramon Lopez and Pancho, did the most of the making of the brick here. And one of the men, Tio Adama, was the master mason. He came from Mexico with all of his knowledge, and he went to the grave with his recipe for making the adobe bricks. So it's a pretty special place here. The city's done a great job to bring it back to what it was.
Thank you so much for staying. We are very proud to have put this video for you guys together. If I can have Robert and the IT team stand up so you can be recognized. Thank you. It's beautiful work. I would also like to recognize one of the grandkids of Los Ochoas and our longtime CPLC board member, Abe Arbizu. Please stand up. And if I can ask Abe and also our president, our first president of Chicanos por la Causa, Juan Alvarez, and also I like to ask Raquel Leiva and Jay Corral to step here at the podium. Would like for you guys to say a few words about all the work that the committee has put together in the last few years.
Thank you for coming. And when the pioneers of Scottsdale seeded their homestead here, they brought with them a very special thing, and that was to be kind to one another. And as they invited me, Sally invited me over 2 years ago to become part of the committee of research and what have you, one of the persons that was been very sweet to me and helping me understand the history of Scottsdale, Mr. Paul Messenger. Thank you so much for guiding me. With that said, we would also like to say thank you for coming. Thank you for allowing us or me to be part of your community, part of your family, and throughout the 3 years almost of me being part of the book, I've had very sweet moments and fellowship with all of you and your relatives. Thank you very much. Now, we're going to close to ask Sally to come up to the microphone because we have a surprise for her. Sally, please come up. On behalf of our committee and on behalf of the families and those who you represent in the book and the labor of love, let us give you a present of flowers, a bouquet of flowers. And there's a card somewhere with signatures. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Thank you.
I want to just tell you that the committee there, can you please stand up, those people that met every Tuesday? Yeah, there's quite a few of us. We all would meet every Tuesday, and my brother and I, Robert Leyva and myself, are from the Leyva and the Jauregui. We're descendants of those two families, but we were very lucky to be invited and tolerated for the last year and a half or so, coming in and sharing the information we had about our families. I think Sally at that point was lacking some information about the Leyva family and maybe even the Jauregui family. But we were so pleased, my brother and I would comment, I hope I don't start crying, we would comment how much we were learning about our families and the people that really impacted our grandmother that lived right downtown on Main, basically, and all the things that we did as youngsters coming over here and visiting with her almost weekly. So we are very happy to be able, as a committee, to honor Sally. If it wasn't for Sally, her hard work, her dedication, perseverance, and working with so many people, and every Tuesday, I'll tell you, we would have to eat a lot. Everybody brought wonderful snacks, and we would eat, but we would get a lot of work done. And we would meet for a lot of different things throughout the city. So it's been wonderful. We cherish the friendships that we've made with Sally and everybody else. And if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't be here today. Thank you.
I'm Jay Corral. I want to say that thanks to the effort of Sally here, I've learned quite a bit about our neighborhood. You know, the connections between the families, I didn't realize. The little old lady that lived down the road from me, I had no idea who she was, other than she was, I knew her as Dona Oteria. And that's all I knew about her. And now I know who she was, who she is, and forever I can see the connection between her and the rest of the families and everybody. You know, I grew up on one side of Scottsdale, they grew up on the other side of Scottsdale. So whatever went on over there, I knew a little about it, but not that much, and now I know more about it. And I want to thank Sally for helping me realize just who I am, where I am, and also to Juan for the inspiration that he and Sally together, they kept us going. You know, that was part of the inspiration right there. And then with AARP representative down here, it was amazing. You know, he was the inspiration to find out more and get up there and really, really talk it. and hopefully we did a good job for you all.
One thing that I've always learned over all the years and working in so many organizations, especially with Chicanos por la Causa and the Boy Scouts of America, so many other, FASAL, Foundation for Senior Adult Living, is that, one thing we always want to remember is remember our past. In 1917, my grandfather, Mariano, and his brother, Vicente, went to war in World War I. So, not only for them, but what I like to do is ask any of the veterans here in the audience to please rise. We thank you for your service. So who would have thought that a few boys from SCOTTSDALE would end up in France somewhere? The other day I picked up a small Bible, and it was signed 1917, and it said somewhere in France. So what a stroke of luck. Sally's after me for it. But on behalf, for what Karen did, I working with Karen over all the years, God rest her soul, and Sally, a lot of these things were put together with all the help of all of you. And it's really funny, there's a little circle of life here. As you see, Chicanos por la Causa has been involved in this project and finishing it out. And some of us that have been on the board, and there's a lot of you out there, that we all work together with Juan, our first, president of CPLC, my father being Abe Arvizu Sr., being on one of the elected founding boards. And, these over all the years, and there's only 5 of us left that are lifetime members of Chicanos por la Causa, 5 veteranos. So that's what we call ourselves. But once again, on behalf of Tony Moya, our chairman of the board, and our board of directors, and our president and CEO, David Adame, we want to thank you very much, because none of this could have happened without all of us. And you see the circle that happens is we just recently saved the old Sacred Heart Church. So you see how this thing comes back around. So the old Mission, 33, and now the Sacred Heart. So these are the things that I think that this is all part of history. Those of us that forget our past will have no future. So always remember that. We have to remember our past, because it is our future. So once again, on behalf of the board, thank you, Juan. Thank you, Sally. And thank you, families. Couldn't have done it without all of you. Thank you very much.
Sally, on behalf of the committee, let me give you another gift. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. One thing that Abe didn't mention is that he has been the driving force to saving Sacred Heart also as well here with the Scottsdale Old Mission. So thank you very much for your service as well, and your family, Abe. It has been a pleasure to be here with you guys today. I've learned so much. I will never see Scottsdale the same way ever again. Thank you for sharing your stories and help future generations to learn about all the work that your parents, your grandparents, and great-grandparents did for our state. Thank you for staying until the end, and have a great day. And now I'll have Dave Barra close. I will give some closing remarks.
Can I just remind everybody that the book is not ready, it's finished, but it's going to be published, and in order to let you know when it's coming out or roll out, we would need everybody to make sure that we have your email address or a correct address so that we can let you know as soon as that's ready. Thank you.
Thank you. Round of applause to all the speakers today. It was an amazing event. Once again, thank you so much. In closing, I just want to say that we are doing a lot of similar events under the platform of AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. Don't forget to follow our page at AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. We have radio shows on Tuesdays and Thursdays addressing Social Security, Medicare, retirement, fraud, finances, health, nutrition. Yesterday we addressed life insurance. anyhow, there's just a lot of things that we're trying to do to serve the Hispanic Americans. So the last thing is that I guess Chicanos por la Causa and AARP are meant to collaborate and work. We did not plan it as in this way, and it happened so amazingly. A round of applause for Chicanos por la Causa once again. And stay tuned, more to come. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you so very much.
Arizona Hispanic Connection.